Sports operations and legal aspects, Lucas Goldborn. So today I'm going to talk about sports law governance in the UK and how it influences key areas such as participation, practitioners, and the commercial side of the sport. Understanding these legal frameworks is crucial because they shape how the sports organisations operate, they protect the athletes and promote fairness. So, in the presentation, I'll cover the key principles and the legal frameworks that govern the UK sports, particularly in football, the impact of these laws on athletes, coaches, and the club itself, and how governance affects financial and commercial aspects. So, real life examples such as Bury FC, their financial collapse, and gender inequality in football. But finally, I'll offer some recommendations to strengthen the UK sports governance moving forward. So, key principles and some legal frameworks of the UK governance sit looking from the overview. So, sports governance is all about setting the rules and the policies and the standards that organisations must follow to ensure that sports are fair, they're safe, and they're well managed. One major framework for the Code of Sports Governance, which outlines the best practices for accountability, its transparency, and its diversity. It was introduced by Sports England and UK Sports. It's vital for promoting fair play and inclusiveness. Uh, there's also the Equality Act 2010, which legally protects individuals from discrimination in sport, ensuring marginalised groups have the access to participation. Another key law is the Protection from Harassment Act 1997, which safeguards athletes, coaches, and staff from abuse or intimidation, especially on the likes of social media, but also in our life. Lastly, the financial fair play, the FFP regulations. Those ensure that clubs spend responsibly and avoid financial instability. Um, these regulations prevent overspending and encourage clubs to maintain sustainable budgets. So I'm just going to look at some of the frameworks that influence participation in sport. Firstly, the key concepts in sports law governance. So some of the bodies, UK Sports, Sports England, the FA and the Premier League. So these governing bodies provide a responsible support of funding and the development and organisation. So they're the ones who are responsible and ensure governance in our sport in the UK. They'll use piece of legislation like the Equality Act 2010 to prevent discrimination. So an example would be participation of lesbian, homosexual, bisexual, and transgender LGBTQ individuals. The FA put an unrivaled action plan in 2015 to increase participation and the Act in sport and football. So the legal impacts on participation. So some of the legal frameworks have played a major role in improving the inclusiveness in UK sport. For example, the Equality Act 2010. It's driven positive changes by increasing the grassroots initiatives that promote diversity, but also the level that they play at. So, however, I mean, despite the efforts, challenges that remain, it's in the world. For instance, autistic measures have reduced funding for local sports activities. They're limiting opportunities for the children and the adults within that factor to engage in the actual sports. So, if I bring up another example, another challenge would be Brexit, which has affected the travel and the visa arrangements for EU-based athletes, and reducing the participation to professional and amateur leagues alike. So these factors highlight the need for the stronger improvement and the improved accessibility in UK sport with Sport England and the FA and the Premier League. Like the next is to build on that, and I like to talk about the coaches and the players and the referees as well. So the impact on the practitioners, it has a legal impact. are significantly impacted by governance rules and legal frameworks. For example, safeguarding policies are vital in protecting the athletes, mainly minors from harm, but recent cases in football and gymnastics and reveal gaps in protection, pushing governing bodies to adopt the stricter rules. Social media abuse was a major concern, and you have an example of that through the 2020 Euro final. So after the final, players like Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Bukayo Saka, they faced racial abuse online. This sparked public outcry, prompting stronger policies to protect athletes from online hate. Additionally, contract laws are in place in football, in especially at Premier League level. So they're treated fairly in contract negotiations for employment disputes, stronger legal frameworks, continuing to improve job security for the professionals. If I move on to the commercial aspects of law, bringing back to the financial fair play, FFP, the regulations are a prime example. They require clubs to balance their spending with their income, preventing excess debt. So if I look at Man City, their recent breach of FFP rules resulted in fines and investigations, highlighting the importance of the strict financial controls in elite sport. But they've still got a case to go, and they could face point deductions, even more fines and bans. If they do get relegated, they'll lose sponsorship and broadcasting rights. So getting demoted to the Championship, and then you also have that intellectual property and that brand protection, which is important. But additionally, like legal frameworks, governing body, broadcasting and sponsorship deals, are just a really key factor in the law of sports. For instance, Liverpool versus New Balance case, Liverpool successfully ended their contract with them to secure a bigger deal with Nike, demonstrating how commercial disputes are resolved through legal channels. So a few of the case studies. One key example I like to bring up is the governance failure in Bury FC's financial collapse. This was due to their poor financial mismanagement. They were expelled from the Football League in 2019. This exposed major weaknesses in financial oversight and raised concerns of how smaller clubs are protected. So if I link that to women's inequality, and the example is that female footballers have historically faced unequal pay and limited resources. However, there has been the recent legal challenges, and the campaigns have improved conditions, emphasising the role of governance and promoting inequality, mainly in pay and the commercial rights. So we'll see a lot of women's football happening. So these examples illustrate why ongoing improvements in the governance are crucial for the stability of UK sport. So we have these clubs staying at their pedigree, and the equality just being, I don't know, just being put to a dispute and just ending it really. So if I look at some of the scholarly perspectives and the primary sources where I gathered the information from, the academic research has played an important role in analysing sports governance, and the need for financial transparency, the improved in the safeguarding policies, and the greater diversity in the leadership roles. So some of the primary sources I have used is the FA rule book. So they use regulatory framework to discipline player contracts, club operations, but they also impact a huge bit of welfare and safeguarding to protect the children and vulnerable individuals. And the FA have created that extensive safeguarding procedure. I've also used the FIFA regulations as well. So going through their 2024 list, they've introduced loads of new tournaments. So the FIFA Beach World Cup, the Futsal World Cup, and more. Like the Under-17 Girls World Cup was a big success, and a lot for the younger generation. But they've also had in Thailand 2024. They announced their groundbreaking anti-racism initiative, setting the bar. And also there was the first time for the 2027 World Cups women, it was decided by a vote. And then finally, I used the Sport England is it kind of rule book FIFA kind of regulation rule book and regulations. So following the 3 years of putting the code into practice and evaluating it and assisting organisations in adhering to its requirements, we and Sport England and UK Sport announced a review of the code in July 2020 against the backdrop of Black Lives Matter. So just a few recommendations I would have for the future governments with evidence from academic research. Um, I would strengthen safeguarding policies to better protect the athletes from abuse and exploitation. Moving on, it's important not just at child level, youth level, but also adults, which we've seen in the 2020 Euros final, and it's a big thing because not many players are coming out with their sexuality and the racial abuse that they do get. I would encourage diverse leadership by promoting equal opportunities in coaching and management and boardroom roles. Um, and then I would enhance the financial oversight by enforcing a stricter budgeting controls to prevent clubs from spiraling into debt. So, for example, the Bury FC, um, they came from that, and you can see it with a lot of other clubs. So, Man United, Jim Radcliffe set strict budgeting rules, firing staff, and limiting that budget so Man United wouldn't fold in 2025. Um, so those informations, they could link for the rest of it, and it could be set by the sports governance. So set by the Premier League, set by the FIFA, set by the UK Sport, if anything. So by adopting these recommendations, UK Sport can build that stronger governance framework and have that structure to ensure that there is this fairness and stability. So, in conclusion, strong governance frameworks are vital in ensuring fairness, accountability, the inclusiveness in our UK sports and in particularly football. So, legal frameworks like the Equality Act of 2010 and FFP regulations play a crucial role, but we do need a few more. So including in our safeguarding and our club's finances. We want to promote equality and use these acts to our benefit from the sports governance. As we've seen through the cases of Bury and gender inequality, governance failures can have serious consequences. So by strengthening, safeguarding, promoting diversity and enforcing a stricter financial control, UK sports can create a fairer, a safer, and more sustainable future, having that strong structure. And again, I would say thank you for my time, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.